20 classic cars built to last forever. Do you believe it? There's a car that has driven over 1.2 million miles and still runs as smoothly as when it first rolled off the assembly line. It's not a legend. It's true for a Mercedes W123 taxi in Morocco, still using its original engine. Today, you'll meet incredibly durable machines, born to last, and number 13 on the list might change the way you look at cars forever. Saab 900, 1978 to 1993. Starting with a legend from the north, the Saab 900. It's an engineering statement written in steel and stubbornness. When Saab's engineers set out to design this machine, they probably forgot they were building a civilian vehicle. Instead, they created something that could survive a nuclear winter, while still getting you to your destination safely and comfortably. The Saab 900 truly inherited Saab's aerospace DNA in every screw, every weld. The heart of this car is an immortal turbocharged engine. They were so over-engineered that, as mechanics often joked, you'd need a crane to truly stress them properly. These engines frequently surpass 300,000 miles without requiring regular or complex maintenance. The Saab 900's corrosion resistance was equally legendary. The gaps between the body panels were tighter than a bank vault, and its rust resistance made other European cars cry with envy. This was especially important in countries with long winters, where road salt and ice are metal's sworn enemies. A peculiar design detail was the ignition switch placed between the two seats. It was considered an anti-theft system so effective that car thieves often gave up in frustration. Imagine, they could start easily at negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, while other cars turned into useless ice sculptures. Its heating system was powerful enough to warm a small apartment, and the seats were designed by people who understood that comfort wasn't a luxury, but a vital element. Honda Accord 3rd generation, 1986 to 1989. In the 80s, Honda was like an excellent student, breaking all the rules and leaving others desperately trying to catch up. While American manufacturers were still trying to cut costs faster than a NASCAR racer, Honda engineers held hours-long meetings just to discuss the optimal thread pitch for a seat adjustment screw. Can you imagine that level of meticulousness? The engines in these Accords were masterpieces of mechanical simplicity. Its fuel injection system was so simple that even a backyard mechanic could understand it after a few beers. No complex computer systems, no dozens of sensors waiting to fail. Just pure, efficient, and reliable mechanical performance. Its manual transmission shifted smoothly like Swiss watches, and the automatic transmission, well, they shifted like slightly cheaper Swiss watches. Owners frequently reported reaching 300,000 miles with little more than regular oil changes and occasional timing belt replacements. What truly set these Accords apart was the almost obsessive attention to detail. The door hinges were absurdly over-engineered. The weather stripping was designed to last for decades, not just a few years. Even the cup holders, when they were finally added, were tested for 100,000 usage cycles. The clearest proof of their durability? Go to any developing country where cars are driven until they literally fall apart, and you'll see these third-generation Accords everywhere. In Cuba, these Hondas are prized possessions. They have become eternal cars, as mechanics in Ghana call them, because they have witnessed them survive conditions that even a modern Land Cruiser would struggle with. Mercedes-Benz W123, 1976 to 1985. This Mercedes-Benz W123 is an automotive bank vault. In the late 1970s, Mercedes-Benz did something incredibly bold. They designed a car that was ridiculously over-engineered. We're talking about a machine that, according to engineers, was built as if Mercedes expected it to survive the collapse of civilization. These cars were absurdly over-engineered. Their doors were as heavy as the hood of a modern car. The body panels were thick enough to deflect small objects. It's no surprise that in Morocco these cars are still used as daily taxis, with many having traveled over 600,000 miles on their original engines. Yes, you heard that right, 600,000 miles. The secret lay in simplicity and an unwavering dedication to quality. Mercedes threw money at quality as if money was going out of style. Every part was tested to destruction, then redesigned to be even more durable. In particular, the legendary OM617 diesel engine was a mechanical masterpiece. No turbo, no complex electronics, just pure mechanical fuel injection that worked flawlessly. Variants of this engine were used by Mercedes for over 2 decades. They could start in any weather, run on dubious fuel, and continue operating with minimal maintenance. Buick LeSabre, 1992 to 1999. Can you believe a LeSabre could reach 400,000 miles and still have enough life left? The heart of this car was the 3.8-liter V6 engine, a masterpiece of sophisticated yet incredibly simple and durable engineering. It was so smooth and reliable that Buick's engineers probably felt embarrassed their job was so easy. This engine was basically agricultural equipment disguised as automotive technology, designed to run forever on regular gasoline and a few oil changes. But here's the interesting part. These cars developed a cult following among taxi drivers and salespeople, people whose lives were truly tied to their cars. The car's smoothness was also a big plus. Passengers often joked that it took drama to feel isolated from road vibrations. The seats were designed by people who understood that American highways are measured in thousands of miles, not just a few blocks. Consumer Reports consistently rated the LeSabre as one of the most reliable vehicles ever tested. Insurance companies loved them because they rarely broke down, and so did the American Automobile Association, AAA, because the LeSabre rarely needed roadside assistance. The only people who probably didn't love them were mechanics, because LeSabre owners rarely needed their services. These cars became the unofficial vehicle of older citizens in America, not because they were slow, but because these owners were smart enough to recognize true quality when they saw it. Do you own a classic car that's still running strong? Tell us your secret to keeping it in great shape. Ford Crown Victoria, 1992 to 2011. If you want a car that can survive the apocalypse, here it is, the Ford Crown Victoria. It's the automotive equivalent of a cockroach in a police uniform. When Ford's engineers designed this beast, they probably asked themselves a key question. What if we built a car that could survive being driven by the worst drivers in America 24 hours a day for years on end? The answer was the Crown Vic. And indeed, they did a great job. Its body-on-frame construction was incredibly robust, essentially a truck disguised as a sedan. Its 4.6-liter V8 engine was another story. It was designed to operate in a relaxed state, not overly stressed. Running at high highway speeds all day was like asking a weightlifter to lift a pencil. The cooling system was specifically designed for extended idling periods. Its electrical system could handle enough accessories to power a small radio station. The transmission was so over-engineered that Ford engineers probably clapped and cheered every time a transmission reached another 100,000 miles without maintenance. When Ford finally ceased production in 2011, police departments seriously stockpiled them, buying hundreds more for spare parts, ensuring their fleets could operate until the end of days. Some police departments are still using Crown Vics today, 13 years after production ceased. When the apocalypse comes, it will be driven in a Crown Victoria, probably an old police car, and it will definitely still be running. Toyota Pickup Hilux, 1979 to 1995. The Toyota pickup, also known as the Hilux in other markets, redefined what built to last meant. These trucks were so legendary for being indestructible that the BBC show Top Gear actually tried to destroy one. They drowned it in the ocean, set it on fire, dropped it from a crane, hit it with a wrecking ball, and placed it on top of a building that was then demolished. And after all that torture, the damn thing still started with just basic tools. This wasn't television magic. This was just a normal Tuesday for a Toyota pickup. The show's presenters were genuinely shocked they couldn't kill it. The secret lay in Toyota's Kaizen philosophy, continuous improvement taken to an almost obsessive degree. Every weakness discovered during testing led to a redesign. The 22R and 22RE engines were masterpieces of simplicity and over-engineering. They provided enough power, were fuel-efficient, and absolutely refused to die. They used a timing chain instead of a belt, simple fuel injection, and a cooling system designed to work efficiently even in Death Valley in August while towing a house. What truly made these trucks special was that they were like the Swiss Army knife of the automotive world. Need to haul half a ton of concrete? No problem. Need to cross a river? Sure. Need to survive in a war zone? Yes, absolutely. These trucks became the unofficial vehicles of conflict zones worldwide because they simply didn't stop working in places where car parts were rarer than unicorn tears. Jeep Cherokee XJ, 1984-2001. When AMC's engineers sat down to design the Jeep Cherokee XJ in the early 1980s, they seemed to have decided that subtlety was for the weak. Instead of creating a conventional SUV, they built something that can only be described as a motorized middle finger to the concept of planned obsolescence. The XJ was tough enough to survive the apocalypse and then drive through the rubble. The secret lay in its unibody construction. Sounds boring until you realize it made the XJ lighter, stronger, and stiffer than traditional body-on-frame SUVs. It was like building a tank out of origami. It shouldn't have worked, but somehow it became legendary. The 4.0-liter inline-six engine. That thing was basically immortal. Jeep engineers seem to have mistaken engine design for building an apocalypse device. These engines frequently reached 300,000 miles, while only being maintained with the automotive equivalent of thoughts and prayers. Its cylinder head was prone to cracking if overheated, but if you kept coolant in it, it would run forever. No complex electronics to fail, no fancy all-wheel drive systems with 17 different modes for terrain you'd never encounter. Just a simple transfer case, solid axles, and enough ground clearance to drive over all your problems, or mostly rocks. The cooling system was so over-engineered you could use it to cool a nuclear reactor. Its AW4 automatic transmission was bulletproof. Yes, literally, people have shot at them and they still worked. Volvo 240, 1974 to 1993. The Volvo 240 looked like a refrigerator on wheels, but was incredibly durable, especially in cold climates. In 1974, Volvo engineers seem to have attended a meeting where someone said, "Let's build a car safer than a bunker and more reliable than gravity." And then they actually did it. The Volvo 240 wasn't just built to be durable, it was built to outlive your children, your children's children, and probably a few minor civilizations. This wasn't a car, it was a Swedish monument to the concept of good enough is the enemy of absolute perfection. The 240's design philosophy was simple and beautiful. Make everything 3 times stronger than necessary, then add a little more metal just to be sure. The result was a car that looked like a refrigerator on wheels, but had the structural integrity of a bank vault. Volvo's legendary B21 and B23 engines were so over-engineered that Volvo engineers tested them by running them without oil until they seized. Then, they redesigned them to last even longer. These engines frequently reached 400,000 miles with basic maintenance. Some surpassed 500,000 miles, and there are recorded cases of 240 reaching 1 million miles. Not rebuilt engines, but original engines, original transmissions, just with regular maintenance, and they kept going. Do you own a classic car that still runs well? Tell us your maintenance secrets. Chevrolet Suburban, 1973 to 1991. Before SUVs became glorified minivans for people afraid to admit they had kids, there was the Chevrolet Suburban. And the generation from 1973 to 1991 wasn't just built tough, it was built as if Chevrolet expected it to be used in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, where replacement parts would be fashioned from scrap metal and sheer persistence. This wasn't a vehicle, it was a 4-wheeled survival bunker that happened to have windows. Its chassis was so over-engineered that it could support a small building. But the real magic was under the hood. Whether you chose the 350 small block or the 454 big block, these engines operated in such a stress-free state that it was boring. They weren't finely tuned performance machines. They were lazy torque monsters that could pull trees out of the ground without breaking a sweat. What made these Suburbans immortal was their simplicity. Completely mechanical 4-wheel drive, no complex electronics. The transmission, whether the bulletproof 3-speed automatic or the manual that required a gorilla's grip but would outlast the heat death of the universe. The electrical system was so simple you could troubleshoot it with just a test light and some basic knowledge. Construction companies, oil fields, farms, and government agencies bought them by the thousands because they needed vehicles that could carry 9 people and their equipment through conditions that would make a mountain goat shy. Cummins-powered Dodge Ram, 1989 to 1993. In 1989, Dodge did something bold. Put the Cummins 5.9-liter turbo diesel engine, originally for commercial trucks, into a consumer pickup. This engine was designed for tasks where failure was never an option, and now it was in the hands of suburban drivers. The first-generation Cummins Ram wasn't flashy. The interior was mostly plastic, the driving experience rough, as if you were riding an agricultural machine. But that didn't matter because the engine was a marvel of durability. In commercial applications, the Cummins 5.9-liter was rated for a lifespan of up to 1 million miles. In a lighter pickup, it was barely warmed up at 300,000 miles. Not only that, many owners reported better fuel economy after 200,000 miles, when everything was just worn enough. What made the difference was pure mechanical design. No computers, no troublesome sensors. Just a Bosch P7100 injection pump that could run on diesel or even filtered cooking oil. The turbocharger was carefully designed, generating power without excessive pressure. It was this durability that made rusty, dilapidated old Rams with worn-out interiors still worth thousands of dollars just because of the engine. People were willing to buy them just to take out the engine and put it in another vehicle. Mercedes-Benz W126 S-Class, 1979 to 1991. When Mercedes-Benz set out to build the W126 S-Class, they seemed to have decided that cost-cutting was a dirty phrase never to be uttered in polite society. This was a luxury car that resembled an engineering manifesto written in steel and leather, openly declaring war on the very concept of mechanical failure. The level of over-engineering in the W126 was almost pathologically extreme. The doors closed with a solid thunk like a bank vault, making other luxury cars sound like tin cans. The paint wasn't just sprayed on, it was layered like a Renaissance masterpiece, with primer, base coat, color coat, and clear coat that could survive a nuclear blast. The body was galvanized for rust resistance with such a meticulous process that finding a rusty W126 was like finding a humble billionaire. Theoretically possible, but highly unlikely. The engines, whether inline-6 or V8, were built to extremely tight tolerances. Mercedes engineers reportedly needed special clean rooms just to assemble them. These high-performance engines, heavily tuned, could run at 80 miles per hour all day, almost without breaking a sweat. The legendary OM617 diesel engine could run on almost anything flammable and would outlive your children's children. The gasoline engines were equally durable, with many examples having surpassed 500,000 miles with only regular maintenance. Toyota Land Cruiser FJ60/FJ62, 1980 to 1990. This car was built to last forever, traversing the Sahara Desert, wading through rivers and climbing treacherous mountains. Toyota designed it for another planet, where the laws of mechanical failure didn't apply. The FJ60 and FJ62 models were the culmination of decades of Toyota learning what failed in the harshest environments on Earth, and then engineering those problems out of the design. The straight-six engines, the 2F and later the 3FE, weren't powerful, but they were essentially agricultural equipment disguised as car engines. These engines were designed to operate so under stress that running at high highway speeds was like asking a sumo wrestler to lift a coffee cup. They frequently reached 400,000 miles. Some surpassed 600,000 miles. And there are recorded examples that ran over 1 million miles with original parts. But the engine was just the beginning. Every component was designed with the assumption that it would need to operate in places where the nearest mechanic was 500 miles away, and the only tools available were rocks and persistence. The manual transmission was incredibly robust, so much so it could be used as a boat anchor. The transfer case was simpler than a hammer and twice as reliable. The axles were strong enough to be used in construction equipment. What truly set the 60 series apart was its role as the United Nations vehicle of choice for the worst places in the world. When humanitarian organizations needed vehicles that absolutely had to work in conditions that would make Mad Max cry, they bought Land Cruisers. These trucks have endured wars, natural disasters, and humanitarian crises on every continent. They have been shot, blown up, rolled down mountains, and submerged in rivers, and they just kept going. Do you think any modern car can achieve the durability of these legends? Let us know your thoughts. Honda Civic 3rd Generation, 1983 to 1987. When it comes to durability in the small car segment, we cannot overlook the 3rd generation Honda Civic. The heart of these Civics was Honda's legendary D-Series engine. In particular, the 1.5-liter variants were extremely bulletproof. They weren't powerful engines, only about 90 horsepower on a good day, but they were meticulously designed down to every detail. Tolerances were very tight, materials excellent, and the design simple enough that nothing really went wrong. What made these engines special was Honda's attention to detail. The valve train was almost indestructible. The timing belt lasted longer than the lifespan of most other cars. And the engine bottom end was over-engineered to the point where bearing failure was almost unheard of. With just regular oil changes, these engines would run 300,000 miles without any major work. Everything on these Civics was thoughtfully designed. The manual transmission was smooth and precise. The shifter felt like a rifle bolt, and they simply didn't fail. Even the automatic transmission, often a weak point in small cars, was surprisingly durable. Though only 3 speeds, they shifted smoothly for decades. The suspension was basic with McPherson struts in the front and a single beam axle in the rear. Nothing fancy, but the components were high quality and durable. Toyota Corolla, AE86, 5th generation, 1983 to 1987. The engine options were simple yet excellent. The 4AGE twin-cam engine in the GTS models got all the glory, but even the basic 4AC single-cam engine was incredibly bulletproof. They weren't powerful engines. The twin-cam produced 112 horsepower, the single-cam 90 horsepower, but they were built to standards that would make Swiss watchmakers envious. What made these engines special was Toyota's manufacturing philosophy. Every tolerance was absolutely precise, every part thoroughly inspected, nothing left to chance. The result was engines that felt and performed exactly the same at 200,000 miles as they did when brand new. The manual transmissions were also over-engineered. In particular, the T55 speed transmission was legendary. The gear sets were cut from quality steel, the synchros properly sized, the case reinforced for durability. But it was the overall design that made these Corollas special. Everything was designed with a margin of safety. The cooling system had extra capacity. The electrical system used quality components. Even the exhaust system was stainless steel in many markets. This wasn't cost-cutting, this was building everything right from the start. Inside, you'd find typical Toyota efficiency. Lots of hard plastic, basic cloth seats, simple controls. But it all worked flawlessly. Ergonomics were precise, visibility excellent, and nothing ever failed, ever. Those simple HVAC systems still blew cold air after 20 years. The manual window crank regulators never broke. Nissan Datsun 720 pickup, 1980 to 1986. Before Nissan got soft, they built trucks like this 720. It was their answer to Toyota's dominance in the pickup segment, and honestly, it might have been even tougher than the competition. The 720 was simple, reliable, and absolutely refused to die. These trucks proved that Japanese engineering could withstand American abuse. It was larger than competing mini trucks, but still truly compact. The bed was useful, the payload impressive, and it could tow more than you'd expect, all while still getting decent fuel economy. Its engine lineup was simple. You had the Z24 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine, which was the most common. Some markets had diesel engines, but all were bulletproof. In particular, the Z's 24 engine was a feat of simplicity. Single overhead cam, 8 valves carbureted in early models, electronic fuel injection in later ones. It made around 100 horsepower, which sounds pathetic today, but it was enough. And more importantly, it was bulletproof. These engines had factory-forged crankshafts and connecting rods. Pistons were properly designed with correct ring gaps. The cylinder head was a simple cross-flow design, never warped, never cracked, never caused problems. Oil changes were basically the only maintenance needed, everything else just worked. Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon W460, 1979 to 1991. Designed for the German military in the 1970s. The requirements were simple. It had to work in every climate, on every terrain, for decades without major maintenance. Mercedes engineers took that very seriously. They created a vehicle that was basically indestructible. The engines all focused on reliability over performance. The OM616 and OM617 diesel engines were the most common. These were the same bomb-proof engines used in Mercedes sedans, but tweaked to be even more durable. They produced a laughably small amount of power, around 65 to 90 horsepower, but they would run forever. No computers, no sensors, just mechanical injection and the reliability of a cast-iron engine block. Just change the oil, change the filters, and they would run 500,000 miles without any internal work. The drivetrain was military-grade. The manual transmissions were truck units with incredibly strong gear sets. The transfer cases were mechanical units with no electronics to fail. The enormous locking differentials made these trucks unstoppable off-road. Everything was over-engineered by a factor of 2 or 3. The frame was a massive ladder design, galvanized for rust resistance. The body panels were thick steel, also galvanized. Every bolt was stainless steel or had a special coating. Even the door hinges were designed to last the life of the vehicle. Inside, early G-Wagons were very simple. Vinyl seats, rubber floors, basic heating, no real creature comforts. Today, W460 G-Wagons are becoming collector's items, but many still serve as work vehicles in remote areas. Mazda B2200 pickup, 1985 to 1993. The Mazda B2200 was the little pickup that could and did forever. While everyone focused on Toyota pickups, Mazda quietly built trucks that were just as durable but got less attention. These trucks were simple, reliable, and tough. With this compact size, you could park it anywhere. The F2 engine was the star of the show. This 2.2-liter 4-cylinder engine was as basic as engines get. Single overhead cam, 8 valves, carbureted in early models, fuel injected later. It made around 85 horsepower, which sounds pathetic today, but it was enough. And more importantly, it was bulletproof. These engines had factory-forged internals. The bottom end was over-engineered for the power output. The cylinder head was a simple cross-flow design, never warped, never cracked, never caused problems. With just oil changes, these engines would run 300,000 miles without any internal work. Some reached 500,000 miles. The rest of the truck was equally simple. The transmission was either a basic 5-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic. Both were sourced from Mazda's parts bin and had been proven over millions of miles. The rear axle was a licensed Dana design, tough as nails. The suspension was just leaf springs and shocks. That's it. Nothing to break. Even when neglected, abused, and overloaded, they just kept going. The engine might burn oil, the transmission might whine, the suspension might be completely shot, but they'd still start every morning and get you to work. BMW E33 series, 1982 to 1994. The BMW E33 series was the last analog BMW. No complex electronics, no myriad computer modules, just pure mechanical excellence wrapped in a timeless design. These cars proved that sporty didn't necessarily mean unreliable. BMW's M20 straight-six engine was the heart of most E30 models. This engine was a masterpiece of simplicity and durability. Single overhead cam, basic fuel injection, nothing fancy, but the engineering was superb. The bottom end was forged and perfectly balanced. The aluminum cylinder head was designed to handle decades of heat cycles. What made these engines special was their smoothness. Inline-six engines are inherently balanced, but BMW went further. They balanced everything. The result was an engine that felt turbine smooth at any RPM. And because there was no vibration, nothing wore out prematurely. The manual transmissions were works of art. The Getrag units felt mechanical and precise. Shifting felt like moving metal through metal, and they were basically indestructible. The suspension was simple yet perfectly tuned. McPherson struts in the front, semi-trailing arms in the rear. It gave these cars their characteristic tail-happy handling. The build quality was exceptional. This was during an era when BMW truly was the ultimate driving machine. Panel gaps were perfect, the paint thick and lustrous. Even the undercoating was properly applied. Sure, they would rust over time, especially in states with road salt, but they resisted rust better than most other cars. Inside, you'd find typical German efficiency. Supportive seats that aged beautifully, clear, easy-to-read gauges that never failed, and that wonderful BMW scent: leather, vinyl, and engineering. The dashboard might crack in extreme climates, the door panels might sag, but mechanically, everything just kept working. We hope this nostalgic journey has brought you meaningful moments and evoked many memories. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Back to Yesterday to not miss other interesting stories from the past. Thank you for joining us.